Hello, this is Sovereign Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. Feedback is greatly important, so please reach out to me either through email, Substack, X, and of course fill up those comments in YouTube. And I appreciate all the listeners on YouTube, so please like, share, and subscribe. And on our audio platforms, it would be greatly appreciated ratings and feedback. So I'm going to list off some of the audio platforms that I'm on. Of course, Spreaker, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Deezer, just to name a few. All right, so this episode centers around the evolution of the Thanksgiving meal, how everything is thought about. I thought about it, how it came to be what it is, what it's thought about today in our society, in our, American staple of our holiday theme of Thanksgiving that we're going here about with the month of November. And Thanksgiving is one of those things, I'm going to give brief thoughts and then get in more detailed thoughts in this episode. It's one of those catch-all things or just it's really special because it centers around the aspect of being thankful for what you have, and then with the food aspect of that's seen as a joy and entertainment, and all the culture that's came out about it, anywhere from the cinema, like I mentioned last year when talking about planes, trains, and automobiles, when that's, really a Thanksgiving movie versus a Christmas movie or something like that. And then all the aspects of sitcoms throughout the years and things like that. And then Norman Rockwell, of course, with his iconic aspect of the oil painting of the Thanksgiving feast and so on, and literature, things like that. All right, so here we go. My thoughts about the evolution of Thanksgiving meal is that Thanksgiving in general in America, it's truly great because it's an American thing. And I think it's at the heart of the matter what America stands for. Being grateful and thankful for the things that you got, and then expanding on that and sharing that with your loved ones or your neighbors. It's just the generosity of everything when you think about Thanksgiving. So, me as a kid growing up, Thanksgiving was just so prevalent. From a literary point of view, it's unfortunate way LeVar Burton showing his true colors, but as they say, that's a true thing with the infiltration of, with Marxist ideas of hitting them where it is pivotal where you live, or that phrase is really true. And they say breaking it down for the degradation from targeting schools and culture and so forth. But Reading Rainbow, it was for what it was a great thing for children because it shows the impact of how literacy can really take you beyond and really help you it's fortifiable for your life. And so Reading Rainbow, take a look, it's in a book. Reading Rainbow, I can't be anything. Things like that. And so they would, it was nice with the children. They would present different things, particularly themes of thanks. I'm remembering growing up, around the time Thanksgiving time, and even before then, just abundant themes of thanks and the importance of understanding it. And so, also, it was very pivotal too that the aspect of harmony with races was prevalent. That particularly, it's unfortunate way LeVar Burton thinks that. I just saw it as that, you're not a means of your color. You can just achieve anything and people will listen to you. And it's just unfortunate he's trying to carry on that torch of victim virtue signaling. But hey, it's just good to see that the culture is swinging back. The pendulum is swinging back to where it needs to be. So anyway, and then, being older, seeing examples in media, for instance, I think King of Queens is a really good example, and shows like that, where they center around the family and the aspects of the give and take and then the dysfunction that goes along with trying to get things ready, trying to get things right, and then the whole dynamic of of setting your ground of what is sustainable to do. And I think I touched with this with Yes Dear, but the example of if this was in reality the situation, how unfortunate with King of Queens show like that, trying to pinpoint that, Kevin James' character is lucky to have someone like Leah Remini, when in actuality, Leah Remini is lucky to have someone like Kevin James, being dependable, being there, being understanding, especially how erratic her father is and everything. And then, those elements building up, and then you're trying to maneuver everything through the holiday of Thanksgiving, and then how irrational her father is. And then, it's just a nice comedic relief, but a real telling of what happens, unfortunately, what can happen, unfortunately, with the aspect of family, when it's dysfunctional and, all this egos going and everything. So me, I have great memories of, I have great memories with things as far as traditions and stuff like that, particularly with my mother and I growing up, when Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And it was sweet. She explained to me, she said, when she was a kid, she used to watch it, so she, passing it on. And then me seeing all the floats and everything, and particularly what draw my attention a lot is the musical aspect of it. And of course, it's the aspect of the reality of situation of, you're in New York, it's freezing, it's snowing, and, people trying to present as if the singers are really singing, but, it's one of those things. But I like that, the aspect of, but particularly when, getting that right with, as things evolve throughout time. So, interesting enough, I did a episode last year about Thanksgiving, Macy's Day Parade particularly. Check it out. It's pretty neat. All right, so And understanding how important pop music is to society, it gets youth, particularly families, drawn into wanting to watch and wanting to share and the joy and the aspect of the tradition of Macy's. And I thought it was really neat when I was growing up. They would show the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and then they would transition to the commercials. And in the commercials, as time went on, they would show all these neat things about in the early era of Macy's, and then in movies and stuff about mentioning Macy's. And it was nice to see the original Miracle on 34th Street with Natalie Wood and all of that. Macy's, it was just a staple of tradition. And so that's a good transition to subliminally get to the aspects of understanding how impactful Macy's is in society. And then not only with the aspect of the storefront, but the aspect of giving, of away. That's how I see it. And of course, it's a marketing gimmick to get people to shop and everything. But it's a nice way to get people, particularly the community in New York, get people together and a shared interest of something that's humble, that's wholesome. And so now, that I'm blessed to have a family of my own, my husband and I and our children, we instill in that the importance of traditions, and we make sure every year that we do something special, unique, so our children have these memories, because it's important to them. It's important to the development and their understanding of how the heart of the matter about Thanksgiving, or understanding of being appreciative of what you have, and knowing that when all else fails, you have family, and you have joy, and you should have joy within that, the family. And then, we're just lucky enough to share these things with them, and then see their little faces, be happy to see the food, and then be around their grandparents and everybody. It's a beautiful thing. All right, so also, me being a graphic design person, I love graphic design, and this is something I'm kicking the can on, sort of, also doing topics more and more with all, cultural, conservative point of views, perspective about the world around me, but also talking more and more about graphic design and the impact it has on society. I'm thinking about that. But I'm bringing it up because me particularly, the palette of colors that you see in Thanksgiving, it's really, it's really comforting too. So it's one thing with the Christmas, it brings a lot of joy and wonder and whimsy as far as the color palette. But the Thanksgiving color palette with the nice creams, with sometimes the reds, the oranges, the browns, it innates that image of nature, of cool, crisp air, of sweater time, of just time to just slow down a little bit more, but keeping the pace with a day to day, but just soothe. I equate it to smooth jazz, like that subtle comfort that's what it does for me, that you hear when you listen to smooth jazz, stuff like that. All right, so that being said, I'm going to get into the aspects about the evolution of the Thanksgiving meal. And of course, this source will be provided for you in this episode. All right, so I pulled this from Britannica.com, as I mentioned before when I was talking about a Halloween episode in my podcast. I like to get information from this source because it's, again, like the encyclopedia. All right, so it says, why do we eat turkey on Thanksgiving? This was written by John M. Cunningham. So it's as celebrated in the United States, the holiday of Thanksgiving usually revolves around a bountiful meal. Typical dishes include bread, stuffing, potatoes, cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie, and above all, turkey. How did turkey become the centerpiece of the feast? It's often assumed that today's Thanksgiving menu originated in an event commonly referred to as the first Thanksgiving. There is indeed evidence of a meal shared between pilgrims and settlers at Plymouth Colony, and what is now Massachusetts, and the Wampanoag people in late 1621. But there is no indication that turkey was served. For meat, the Wampanoag brought deer, and the pilgrims provided wild fowl. Strictly speaking, that fowl could have been turkeys, which were native to the area. And then, from my understanding, they were plentiful and they were easy to find, turkeys, which were native to the area, but historians think it was probably ducks or geese. Once more, the pilgrims do not appear to have considered this meal a milestone worthy of special commemoration. No, in 17th century, reference to it exists beyond a letter written by Plymouth colonist Edward Winslow. For the pilgrims, giving thanks for the autumn harvest wasn't a new concept. As a tradition with roots in Europe, harvest festivals and Christian religious observations, days on Thanksgiving were fairly common among the colonists of New England. Throughout America's colonial era, communities held their own unofficial Thanksgiving celebrations, and few people associated them with the Plymouth settlers. By the turn of the 19th century, however, turkey had become a popular dish to serve on such occasions. There are a few reasons for this. First, the bird was rather plentiful. One expert estimated that there were at least 10 million turkeys in America at the time of the European contact. And that's quite impactful to expel and go back to seeing the way nature was at the time, the soil, and how things progressed to the modernism of today. That's quite interesting. All right, so serve on such occasions, there were a few reasons for this. The first, bird was rather plentiful. Oh, okay, what I was saying. So Americans at the time of the European contact, turkeys were plentiful. Second, turkeys on a family farm were almost always available for slaughter. While live cows and hens were useful, and I can quite understand that, particularly with cows and hens. So cows, can see that would be more of an aspect of milk and things like that, and grazing the land, taking upkeep of the land. And then, of course, later on with beef. But hens, are so small, so there wouldn't be enough to go around for everybody to eat. So, yeah, turkeys are a nice touch. Just right, that perfect in-between ground, that perfect element of what you need as far as having enough fowl to share for everybody to eat. All right, were useful as long as they were producing milk and eggs. Repetitively, turkeys were generally raised only for their meat and thus could be readily, to get rid of. So, third, a single turkey was usually big enough to feed a family. Nevertheless, turkeys were not yet synonymous with Thanksgiving. Some people have accredited Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, 1843, with bolstering the idea of turkey as a holiday meal. And so, and that's quite true with literary aspects of how prevalent it was at this time, going on in the turn of the century, how literary set it the societal trend of what you think about yourself, questioning not only what you think about yourself from a philosophical point of view but another thing with how you view your culture, what's valuable to that. And that's a nice touch to bring this as an element to understand this fact of how important this is in the evolution of what we think about Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving feast, Thanksgiving meal. So, but another writer, Sarah Joseph Hale, played an arguably more important role. In her 1827 novel, Northwood, she devoted an entire chapter to description of a New England Thanksgiving. With the roast turkey placed at the head of the table, at about the same time she also began campaigning to establish Thanksgiving as a national holiday in the United States, which she believed would help unify the country as it tiered towards civil war. Her efforts finally paid off in 1863 with a presidential proclamation by Abraham Lincoln. As Thanksgiving became an official American holiday, a national mythology formed around it. In 1841, collections of Pilgrim writings had referred to the meal described by Winslow as the first Thanksgiving. Although Winslow didn't specifically mention turkey, his fellow colonist William Bradford did refer to a great store of wild turkeys at Plymouth that fall, and a journal was reprinted in 1856. Before long, the cultural links between pilgrims and turkeys, Thanksgiving became an integral part of American school children's education. From a more practical perspective, turkeys has also remained relatively affordable. Although the wild turkey was considered endangered in the early 20th century, the population once again stands in the millions. In addition, modern breeding practices have helped make turkeys both large and cheaper than ever, thus ensuring their continued place on the Thanksgiving table. All right, so with this said, I'd like to know what you all think about the aspect of Thanksgiving meals and your traditions, or what you like or what you don't like as far as eating food on Thanksgiving. So, best ways to reach me, either through email, Substack, follow me on X, send me messages on X, would be greatly appreciated. I'm out there at the Harboring, feel free to reach out to me. And of course, fill up those comments on YouTube, it'd be greatly appreciated. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harboring Light. Tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care out there. Bye-bye now.